Welcome to the actual play with Just One More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Lacey, Carrie, Holly, and Taffy.
Hey.
Yo, hi.
You can find us online at justonemorefix.com or on Twitter at justonemorefix. If you like us, you can support us at Patreon, and you can give us a rating and review at iTunes or wherever you find us at. In this episode, we're going to keep playing Night Witches. And now, it's time to get our gaming fix. You're about to listen to part of our third session of our Night Witches actual play. These games have some mature themes, dark moments, and part of the tragedies of war. So if that isn't for you, you've been warned. And without any further ado, I give you Night Witches. Right, so when we last left off...
I did a lovely landing with our brand new person, Oksana.
I've got 2 harm.
I'm pretty sure she doesn't like me.
Our plane was just in perfect condition. I don't understand what went wrong.
I don't either. Wait, you were piloting, right?
I was, yeah.
Okay, it's totally your fault. You broke my plane.
Listen, you were in the screw-up seat.
I was in the barf dead seat, okay? That's where I was.
Oh, yeah, that's what happened.
It's just bad juju. I told you.
We lost somebody.
I knew it.
Sonia.
Yeah,
We
us.
did.
Sonia.
Before that, though, we lost...
Sonia died.
Yeah. But the other person is still alive. Our other chick.
Katya.
Yes, Katya. She's burnt to shit. Mm-hmm. She's like a crispy french fry, but...
Alright, so the Gordos has crashed.
No, Tibrit.
Oh, sorry, Tibrit is crashed.
Which means Zagnut finally gets his name action.
True story. Right on.
Did we see Yellowtail on that mission? Was that what went wrong? I think we did.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were angry. Very angry because, yeah.
Alright, so I think I want to do a little bit of some camera 1, camera 2 happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that we don't run too much with the crashed pilots and then with the what is going to start as an informal interview. And,
Am I going to be there?
And may lead into a formal interview.
Uh-oh.
I think we will start with... We'll start with Julia and Gallia. Not Julia. Yulia and Gallia.
Is it wrong that I can't quit thinking Bon Jovi whenever this happens?
Bon Jovi.
You know, shot down in a blaze of glory.
So, what actually happened that led to the crash?
To
They took
them?
fire.
Crashing?
Yeah, because
Took enemy
we
fire.
took...
Did you? Okay.
Yeah,
They took some enemy fire. However...
and we didn't roll high enough,
and we decided
got 2
not
of
to
them.
fail the mission.
Correct. But the plane was also previously damaged, and
Yes.
the repair roll was made, but it wasn't made well enough.
But it was made by 2 different people.
Correct. You can save that excuse for the Politruck. It's okay.
Nina did it. I just helped her.
Oh, well, you can save that argument for the Politruck. It's okay.
You're not a mechanic, so technically, I mean, she allowed you to help.
Yeah, so they went down after being shot at and the repair that wasn't performed well
Right.
enough or whatever. And they had a hard landing in a fire break between 2 sections of forest. You guys marked it on the map and then continued flying back home. Why don't one of you two roll a d6 and that will be the amount you made it back on a scale of 1 to 6?
3.
3? So halfway. Alright, so you guys did this mission B here. So you made it halfway back from here to there, which is quite a way.
So are we in occupatory?
Yes. This is actually, everything that happens at True Gorniaka is a defensive mission. So you guys are actually kind of surrounded on 3 sides by the Germans.
So everything.
This is that kind of, yeah.
Okay.
So you guys are like out here. So the plane crashes and goes down. You guys make a hard landing, you bail out. The plane catches fire when you guys got out, if I remember correctly, right?
I mean, that
Yes.
seans fair,
Well,
given the
I think-
materials used in
Yeah.
creation.
I think there was like a problem with it, like one of the tanks or something like got hit.
Yeah,
That was
the
one of the areas.
rods that went back to
Yeah.
the control. The
Yeah, because I tried to
Yeah,
shoot it with the handgun,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it worked.
It did work.
Otherwise, we would have crashed and died.
Correct.
Yes.
Should have let
So he
us
saved
die.
us, but it also like destroyed our tank, and then the whole plane caught on fire, so that we didn't die, basically.
All right.
Can't believe that worked.
So the plane lands. You guys bail out. It catches fire. I will say that you guys can each grab. Okay, I guess we'll do it this way. Is there anything you guys want to try and grab before you guys bail out of the plane to run off, or are you just jumping out and getting away?
Basically, any kind of like identifying stuff that would make them
Our logbook.
Okay. All right.
we probably
Wait,
didn't
so
take
who's
much.
the navigator?
I was.
So the logbook will be back there with you.
Okay, that and the map.
And the map? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to try and grab a hold of?
Is there anything else in there? I think we established we don't even have parachutes in there to
No,
fly light.
But I think that you guys, I think it stands to reason. You may not have a parachute, but you probably have some kind of down
Like a
pilot.
water canteen thing or
like
something?
a kit,
Yeah.
down pilot kit.
So,
Maybe like a backpack full of stuff. Like
so
full
why
of
don't
like a
you
handful
roll?
of things.
Give me a pressure luck, and you do the same as well, and that will dictate how much trouble comes from trying to.
10.
10?
5.
5. All right, so with the 10, you grab the map book, the log book, the maps, jump out, and they aren't even singed.
Woo!
Like you kind of, I guess, prepared mentally for this as you guys were going down.
Because I realized
And
I'm in the
scoop it
bad
up.
seat and I'm gonna die.
Right. Right. Don't be like Sonia. Don't be like Sonia. Don't be like Sonia. So Lacey, you got a 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to say that you have 1 harm from fire. You get your bag of stuff out, but it also caught fire. So the bag is singed and kind of burned, and we'll say that you guys will each have a pistol, and we're not going to track ammunition or whatever, but you guys have a very limited supply of ammunition. And you guys have a couple canteens and a couple cans
Rations.
of whatever the World War II equivalent of the sea rations that comes in a can that the Russians had or whatever. Other than that, you guys, well, you know what? You had the maps and stuff in the back, so along with the maps and logbook, you also have a compass, which is incredibly important right
Yes.
now. So you'll have that as well, and basic navigation stuff. But you guys have about enough water for maybe a day for the 2 of you.
We will definitely be rationing the hell out of that unless we find some water.
So along with that, you guys know that they saw the Germans from their position, because you're up in the air, right? Can see you guys as you guys are going down and hear your plane sputtering. So you know that they have seen wherever it is that you went down. And that there is nothing that they would love more than to have a couple captured night witches.
Well, if any luck, they'll think we're dead because our ship is on fire and looks like it wouldn't survive a crash.
So there you stand in the middle of this Eastern European forest, in this break between the forests.
In
So
the dark.
It's not dirt, like a dirt ground, but it's brush and briars and brambles and that stuff. And it is eerily quiet because as a flaming plane came down here, all the birds and bugs
Scattered.
have scattered and they are now quiet.
Okay. Well, as soon as we realize that the plane is not salvageable, I will quickly find our area on the map, and I think we should go. We should start moving. There's nothing we can do.
I'm not sure how fast I can move.
How much harm do you have?
I have serious injury. It's 2 harm, but it says serious injury.
I have that too.
Okay, so it's not
I'm
broken.
not going to say we can't move, but it just won't be
not-
probably very
right.
fast.
Yeah, because we're both probably burned pretty well.
I'm not unconscious or anything, but but yeah, we need to get at least away from the plane and into the woods.
Yeah, we need to hide. Maybe we can find a house along the way or a small village to help us.
In terms of the way the game works, this would be an ideal opportunity for one of you guys to eyeball the situation.
Okay.
That would be good, because those are things that you're going to gain that are going to be true. But only one of you.
I've got a +1 in skill. I will make an eyeball. Oh, God. I got a 3.
All right.
Oh, great.
Oh, sorry, 4.
Oh,
I got a 4.
in that case.
Damn you, dice.
It says on a miss, the GM might offer a straight-up lie, honest mistake, or tragic misunderstanding. I guess I'll go ahead and if you had succeeded at a cost, you would get one question. So go ahead and ask your one question, and I will give you that information, and it will be assumed to be true to you guys.
How about what am I overlooking?
What are you overlooking? I think that on the way here, you remember that you saw very few German emplacements on the way out here.
Mhm.
So I guess what you might be overlooking, you think, is that this might be a relatively easy trek back because there doesn't seem to be, while this is German occupied territory, they're not right here.
It's not heavily occupied.
Right.
Okay. I think we're going to be okay. I didn't see lots of Germans on the way here, so as long as we can make it through the woods.
I think I can plot us a course that we should be able.
Good.
We just need to stay hidden and quiet as much as possible. This way.
All right. what is it you guys are trying to do initially? Just walk directly back, or?
I think kind of head east towards where our camp is at, but find a place along the way that we can rest a little bit and plot an actual,
Yeah.
someplace semi-safe course back.
Far enough away from like the actual crash site, because I'm sure that people will come and investigate, because if there's somebody that's hurt that's still in the plane, they would obviously want to take them prisoner. So we don't want.
So is that a place in the wilderness, or is that a place like at a farmhouse? Like, what are you guys looking for ideally?
Well, if there's a farmhouse, possibly a farmhouse where we can, if there's like a barn or something, we can stay in.
I think it sounds like a scrounge is kind of what I'm thinking. If you
gingerbread
guys are
cabin in the
looking
woods.
to try and find something, right? So go ahead and when you guys roll me a roll plus luck as you guys are trying to find a.
I'm gonna let you do that.
Have some good luck. 11.
Hallelujah.
Boom.
On a hit, you get what you need, and you add 1 to the mission pool. So
Yes.
I'm going to say, because I think this is
The getting home mission pool.
this might be a getting home mission pool. I think seems reasonable, right? So we'll go ahead and add 1 to the mission pool. So since you complete success, what would you rather have found? A small farm, or just a quiet place in the forest that's secluded and away from everything?
A small farm.
A small farm? Okay. So you guys are making your way through the forest, and it's thick, dense forest, right? It's in Eastern Europe. It's just hard moving through all this, right? There's not really a cut path. It's hard terrain. It's difficult, and it's dark to add difficulty to all that. But you guys are scared and making the best time you can. As you're moving through, you come into a small clearing, and you see that there is an area of... You see a couple barns in the distance as you're kind of like at the edge of this forest line. We'll say that you guys have traveled about a mile from where your plane crashed. And I think we'll say that it's taken you guys about 45 minutes to an hour to make that distance because it is so slow going for you. And there are a couple small barns and a small farmhouse that you see. And in the farmhouse, there is still a candle burning in the... You can see a burning of a candle in through one of the windows, and you hear the sound of some livestock making noise or whatever. But it does seem it's set up similar to how your guys' air station was. It's like it's surrounded by the forest, like this farm is sort of plopped down in the middle of the woods here, so it's pretty secluded.
I would like to try again to eyeball the situation. I just want to look, is there something, any signs of German troops here that we're not seeing on first glance?
Okay.
A 9. Okay. Woo. And
So on a
then
9,
eyeball
you
is
ask,
eyeball is a skill roll, so I got a 10.
Okay. So you get to hold 2, which gives you can ask the questions now or later, and you get a +1 forward when acting on those questions.
Okay. So I would like to look and see, what am I overlooking?
I think that there is, since you're in German-occupied territory, there are Germans here at this farmhouse. They've come here, and they're sort of occupying the area. Now, the people that own the farm still live here, but the Germans are actually in the farmhouse itself.
Okay.
The way you notice that as you're eyeballing the situation and looking, you see through the window where that candlelight is burning, you see it's too far away to make out details, but you can see that the person in the candlelight has an officer's hat on. And it seems unlikely that if there was a farmer living here in the middle of the night, he would be wearing an officer's hat at candlelight.
Mm-hmm.
So you're reasonably certain that the Germans are holed up in the farmhouse. But you can hear that you hear in Russian, like it sounds like someone shushing children, telling them to go back to bed in one of the barns.
Okay. So I think we should head over towards the barn.
And you have a second question, but you don't have to ask that right now.
I'm gonna hold it.
So don't forget you have it, though.
I think that you should stay, and I'll hand you all the maps and the compass and everything. This is the best direction to get back. If something happens, I'm going to go first, since you are a leader, because if anyone has the best chance of getting back and getting more help, then I think it would be you. So I'm going to go to the barn and see if they're friendly.
Okay.
And I'll wave you over if everything seems okay. If not, if I'm gone too long, then just start heading back and I'll give you I'll give you all of the extra supplies and stuff like that.
Okay. I'm gonna pull out my gun to cover her, Charlie's Angels style.
There you go.
I'll make my way over to the barn, avoiding any kind of direct line of sight from like any of the
Right.
windows of the house.
Okay, so you can kind of position yourself to where the barn is in between you and the house, and you sneak up to the back of the barn.
Mhm.
And much like I described before, you hear, it sounds like there's a couple children inside that are not, kind of like, how siblings pick at each other back and forth, like they're younger and they're being restless and whatever. And you hear some scolding, stop it,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. You also hear the sounds of some livestock inside the barn as well.
I'm gonna look, try to view around the whole sides, all the sides of the barn that I can see, obviously,
Mhm.
and make sure there's no patrolling officers outside or anything like that.
So you're looking around the corner and you see that there is one German officer, and or not to say officer, but there's one soldier, and he's got his rifle slung over his shoulder, and he's sort of leaning back against the farmhouse at one of the doors. You see the light of his cigarette. He's smoking a cigarette. He's out there because he's supposed to be, but you can tell he's just sort of smoking and relaxing. So.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously not on that side, but where there's a door on the other side of the barn, I'm gonna go up and like kind of scratch or like. Would there have been any kind of knocks or special sayings
Not
or
that
anything like that?
Okay, so there may not be there's not a secret knock that any peasant's going to know, right?
Right.
But if you speak German, or I mean, if you're a Russian,
Yeah.
and they're a Russian, I'm sure there's some turn of phrase that would identify you as clearly you're a native Russian and not a German. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I will kind of make like a scratching noise and say in Russian, the Mother Russia's moon looks full tonight or something like that, to that
Yeah.
effect.
You'll hear the barn latch or whatever,
Mhm.
slides, and the door opens just a crack. And you see the eyes of an old man looking back at you. Seems pretty scared. He sort of looks at you strange to see a woman out here in the middle of nowhere by themselves.
Yes. Well, I will,
she's
I will
in flight
kind
suit
of
and everything.
maneuver myself to where he can see all of me so he can see
Okay.
my uniform.
He looks over his shoulder. He cracks the door open a little bit, like just wide enough for you to barely like squeeze through. And he grabs you and he pulls you in and he pulls the door closed and latches it. Says, the Germans are in the house.
We were running a mission. I need your help.
He looks nervous and he says, I don't have much help to give. He says, the only people that are here are me and my 2 grandchildren, and my wife is in the house cooking and taking care of the soldiers that are here.
How many?
He says it varies during the day. They kind of come and go from here. But at night, he says at least a dozen, maybe.
Can my friend and I stay here for a few minutes together? Just figure out what we're going to do. Do they usually come in the barn?
No. Usually we try to stay here and stay quiet so they don't bother us and so that they'll leave the children alone. You can see he's got, as you're inside here and you can see a little bit better, we'll say there's a not necessarily a full moon, but the clouds are open, so there's a fair amount of light coming in. And you can see that he has a fair amount of bruising in various stages from where he's been beat up and hit and all that kind of stuff. So he says it hasn't been good, but he says we can do whatever we can. I know you guys are doing what you can to try and push them back.
Yes.
In this time period, do they give us any kind of like, take this to kill yourself if you're going to be interrogated type stuff?
No, I don't think so.
Dang.
Not that I'm aware of.
No cyanide capsules?
No, it's not quite Hydra. Hail Hydra.
I was just hoping.
All right. I will take. Is there any kind of like cloth or anything in here? Just like a small cloth?
Mhm.
A light colored one, obviously. I'm going to tie it to like a little stick and stick it out the door and kind of look. I don't know exactly where she's at, so.
Just signal to her.
Yeah. That
She
it's,
signals you.
that it's okay to come.
So you guys will sneak up into the barn. Okay, so once you guys are in the barn here together, what's the plan from here?
I think we try to figure out what to do next. We can't go in there. He said there could we're up to a dozen soldiers in there. So, but
How many children are here?
two.
Oh,
We should take them with us.
I was thinking that, but
do you say that out loud?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm
I'm whispering
Yeah,
it to
yeah,
her.
yeah.
but
No, like,
perhaps if we can get the wife here, we can take all of.
Does she ever get to come out of the house?
no.
Are you allowed to go in to see if she can come tend to the children?
No. She
should-
once a day, usually, she will come bring us something.
She should poison them. She's cooking all the food, right? Is there something that grows in the Russian woods that's poisonous? I'm sure there is.
Do they got belladonna here?
I think it's fair to say that every area of the world has poisonous herbs and spices.
Let's
Do we think we could find any of them? Because if we could kill a German officer and save this Russian family, it would be worth the crash landing in the woods.
Yes, it would. I was thinking that
All right.
if we could try to.
And it might get us out of being interrogated later.
I think it would be...
I'm not as worried about that as I am this poor family.
I'm a little worried.
If you see his face, they're clearly beating him. They keep the children out here, so...
They will kill them before this is done.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
So I think it would be if you wanted to go find that into the forest, I think that would be a scrounge. I think it seems appropriate.
I'm going to give it a shot.
All right, I'm going to figure out our best and quickest course of retreat.
Okay.
While you guys do that, we're going to go meanwhile back at the ranch. So, plane has crashed. You guys marked the position. You landed your planes. And
I landed great.
I did not.
yeah, at the end of the mission, or any of the missions you guys fly, you know that there's a debriefing that happens afterwards. So all of you guys will be brought to the debriefing.
I'm hurt very badly, by the way. I have
How much
3.
harm do you have? You have 3 harm? Okay. So...
She's going to go to the armor.
I got to go to the doctor. Please.
Their plane is damaged as well.
Okay. Do you have any harm on you, Carrie? Or Vera, rather?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Neither does Oksana.
All right, so you land, all that mayhem happens as you go ripping past the Polita truck, hose her down in a wash of goat runway mud,
Yes. Goat mud.
and you climb out of your plane, and they rush you off to the infirmary. So you don't, are you making a huge issue to attend the debriefing, or are you letting them take you off to the...
No, I'm hurt pretty badly. I
Okay.
have 3 harm, so I'll go to the hospital and explain myself later, I think.
Okay, pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, they roll you off, and they take you to the infirmary. You're there, you see Katya's there, and they're working on you and tending to your wounds. So at the debriefing, the various squadron leaders or section leaders go through their mission reports of what happened. So then it would come to your guys' section.
I'm going to grab Oksana's map, because
Uh-huh.
she was my navigator, and I'm going to lay it out. I'm like, we lost a plane here. There was enemy fire where we thought there was not going to be any. The intel that we got was not 100% accurate.
Lost
but
the plane, what do you mean?
They were shot down. We succeeded in our mission, but one of the 3 were shot down, including the Lieutenant Yulia.
When you say shot down, did you see them go down?
Yes, I'll push forward the map.
Right, I understand you saw where they went down. Did you see them land? Or did you see them crash?
Oh, land.
It was fire.
There was...
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like, the whole...
I mean,
pack
maybe
was
you
on
saw us
fire.
land, but it was definitely on
I
fire.
saw
so
the
maybe-
plane land. It was on fire, but it didn't crash. I saw Yulia fire to the back to try and get it to land right.
Fire, what do you mean?
She turned around and shot her pistol at the tail so that it would unlock,
The rudder.
or whatever it was.
She sort of, you're speaking to...
Am I speaking to
commander?
MKV or
No, you're
Lizardeva?
speaking to Bereshonskaya. You're speaking with Major
the
Bereshonskaya.
regimental commander.
Oh,
Yeah.
the-
So there were several important missions that were happening last night.
Yeah.
You're actually speaking with the regimental
Oh.
commander.
Ooh.
And she stands there with her mouth closed, looking at you, and there's this period of silence that goes by, and you're not sure if she's waiting for you to say something.
Well,
to
I
her.
don't do well with silence, so I will say more.
I forgot you are Vera, right?
I saw the plane land here. The plane is not
Stop.
flyable anymore.
Stop. I want you to go back to the part where she was shooting her own plane.
What's the latch called? The rudder?
Sure.
Rudder had been shot, and she couldn't use it. And so she turned, and she fired on it so that she could land the plane. And initially, I had thought that she was firing at an enemy, but then I realized what she had done, which allowed Yulia to successfully land her plane, which means there's a good chance they're alive and out there in enemy territory, and they need someone to help them.
So are you trying to get her to send someone to help them?
Yes.
She just stands there and it's like she's mulling this process over. And she's like, well, I will admit, in my time in the air and speaking with all of you other pilots, I know that desperate times create opportunities and fixes that you wouldn't normally think of. But if they went down and were on fire, chances are that there's nothing to...
I'm going to turn and look at Oksana. Did you see them get out of the plane? I was flying us out of there.
Okay, so you turned to Oksana, and this is her first mission, and
Uh-huh.
she just graduated flight school, and she's standing in front of the regimental commander, and she's like, if you could hear into her brain, she'd be like, why the hell are you having the regimental commander talk to me right now? And she looks like a deer in headlights. And she's, it was on fire when it landed.
So you did see them get out.
I think they
got out.
Okay, so all right.
You're leading her to the right answer.
I think this is an act up. I think we'll put this all under one roll, okay? So this will include getting her to corroborate your story.
I don't want her to coerce.
Not coerce.
Collaborate.
Get her to corroborate your story, and it will convince the regimental commander. So go ahead. This is.
I know that there's rumors about us being so tight knit that they know that I'd probably put the rest of the squadron in danger to save the rest of my people. But Oksana does not have that about her because she's new.
So, I think this is act like a natural-born Soviet airwoman. You know, roll plus medals.
So if you roll double ones, it's awesome. That's still pretty good.
I mean, you have a medal.
Oh, you do have a medal.
So that's 9.
9.
All right.
I'm gonna ensure that there's no consequences for this.
Ooh. For you acting up right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's not overt that I'm acting up, but I don't want this to come back at me in any way.
Okay, so there's 2 separate things, though, because you only get one. One of them is for them to... Okay, very good. So...
I'm aware.
Okay, very good. I just want to make sure. So she takes note, and she jots things down, and there's a secretary there with her that, they're talking about things where the plane went down, and she notes how you mentioned how the intelligence was wrong.
But the mission was a success.
Right.
If I could go back to that, I would like to. The mission was a success.
Okay.
Yulia ensured that the mission was a success.
Very good.
Thanks.
Well, fair enough. Unfortunately, we don't have the resources to send someone out to look.
I can go.
You have expertise in
No,
search and rescue?
but it's my time to sleep, and I will use it to help our Soviet army in any way possible.
I think that's a job better left to the people that are suited for it. Your job is to be suited to be in a plane and in flying condition. And running around gallivanting in the woods across hundreds of square miles is not going to put you in that position come nightfall again.
I understand.
She says, thank you for your report. She dismisses you essentially, and they finish up everybody else. Is there anything else that you have that you want to do while you're here?
Is there like a written report area?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
I'm going to include Dasha's expertise in evading the firing from the other, from all the artillery that was being fired at us by going into the spotlight, so that she looks good as well. That way, the damage to our plane makes sense.
Right. Okay. Very good.
I know these letters were supposed to be when we use our own moves, but I'm going to counter with they should be bonus moves, bonus reach outs, since we did them out of time.
I can be. The only thing that I wanted them to do is I didn't want it to just. I wanted it to fit within the story of the game.
Okay.
That's my only thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to have it. So if there's a point where you think it makes sense, then just bring it up. It's okay. I just didn't want it to be like, here's the letter break. All right, Dasha are in the infirmary. What does 3 harm actually say it is?
Requires hospitalization.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like maybe some cracked and bruised ribs and some lacerations maybe. I didn't really take fire. I just landed very hard when I landed. So maybe
2
just
is serious injury, and then 3 is unconscious or injuries requiring hospitalization.
Okay. They're the kind of cracked where it's like, it's not just stay home and nurse it off. It's like kind of cracked where they need to bind your chest. Like they wrap you up really tight and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I landed pretty hard in the mud. Okay. So I'm thinking maybe that would be consistent with that type of landing.
So there's all kinds of stuff inside there. There's not a lot of room inside the cockpit, so that stands the reason that you could be bounced around in there. There's levers and all kinds of crap in there to get banged around on, especially when you're bouncing down the runway. So you are laying there and you are all wrapped up. They have finished mending you up as best they can. Took a couple stitches. We'll say that, with the cracked ribs, maybe you banged your forehead or something, like up here by your hairline, and they had to put a couple stitches in you, close it up. And
that's still pretty.
No, it's in the hairline. It's up here. It's up in the hairline. You're good. Because we decided the minute you have a facial scar as a character, you become a bad guy. It's just how it works.
No.
Right?
Wait, are you telling us that Patty has a bad guy?
It's a thing. What happened to Harvey Dent? He became a bad guy.
She kind of looks like that now.
Exactly.
Melty.
They get you all fixed up. they know that you know Katya and all that stuff. So they sort of put you guys next to each other. You've seen like in the movies and stuff, they have those old style, the rail beds, you see in the infirmaries and stuff. So they've got a couple of those laying there, like a whole row of those, and you're there next to Katya. And there's some other people in there as well. You guys are smoking and joking. A good laugh, it hurts.
Literally smoking because she got burned.
Oh darn. So maybe I'm just talking to Katya about how I kind of landed and sprayed goat feces and mud all over our commander.
Right, okay. So as if on cue, right? You say that, and the doors here are the swingy kind, right?
Yes, of course.
So you hear that swing, and it's quiet. It's nighttime. It's late, and most of these people are sleeping. You're pretty sure Katya would be too if it hadn't been you laying next to her when you hear that door swing closed. And there, standing there, you see, mostly cleaned up now, you see the Captain Barsukova, who is the regimental politruk, right? And you can tell she hasn't, like, showered yet. She's just, like, got, like, you still see the mud, like, inside her ear a little bit. When you get really coated in mud, you gotta, like, really dig into your ears. And
I'll start to apologize.
She comes walking down the aisle with that, like, when you walk with the boots, the clack, clack, clack on the plywood floor as she comes down. And she stops at the edge of your bed and turns and just stands there and looks at you with her hands behind her back. And she just looks at you for an unbearable moment.
I open my mouth a little bit and go, no words will come out. I'm very nervous and want to apologize, but I'm completely dumbstruck because I'm waiting. I'm doomed. I'm in so much trouble.
So she looks down at you and she says, I was told that your mission was successful this evening.
Yes, I feel like it was. Some things happened that I'm not proud of, and I apologize deeply for my landing and your proximity to it. Are the other girls doing well? Do we know?
There hasn't been any word.
Okay.
At that point, she reaches into her coat, she pulls out a file, and she opens it up, and she's thumbing through some papers as she says, I want something to be painfully clear right now. I don't know if it's Mother Russia lining the fates up for you right now, or if it's just dumb luck. But after the debriefing today, there was a lengthy discussion with the regimental commander and myself and the other officers here. And, well, there's a note in here about your ability to evade the anti-aircraft artillery on the last mission you had. And I know you guys got attacked by the Luftwaffe as well in the mission before. So I'm not here because of your ability to keep the plane in the air. And if those in your section hadn't spoken up for you and also said the right things to the major to keep you guys out of trouble, this would be a very different conversation. I suppose you should be glad, because if this had happened yesterday or tomorrow, this would be an official interview and not an informal one.
I understand.
Which, for you guys, just so you guys know, the difference between those two things is massive. Official interviews is like, oh, holy shit. I don't want to go to Siberia.
Yep. I understand, and I'm grateful to whomever put in a good word.
Well, just like I mentioned your section mates speaking up for you and each other, you should also be aware that it's been noted that there have been a lot of deaths and injuries among your section. But strangely enough, the four of you have always come out mostly unscathed.
Well,
I wouldn't presume to say that someone in your section would intentionally sabotage a plane of their section leader so that it would crash so that she could get promoted. We all know of the green eyes and envy that someone has here.
I wouldn't know anything about that, and I respectfully will not comment.
She stands there and she just, so everybody knows that no one wants to be around these political officers, right? So she just stands there and she's the regimental politruk, right? She's older. She's a little more seasoned, I guess. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell that she wields that influence very well. She just stands there and keeps flipping through this file slowly. And As you lay there in bed and kind of look side to side, you can see that Katya is awake, but she's like laying on her side away from everything, like pretending to not move. Like, I'm totally sleeping right now. So that please don't look at me. Please don't look at me, right? And it's not that they have anything out for you. They're just like, please, I don't want to get drawn into this, whatever the trouble is that's coming. And after a few painful moments when it seems to be almost unbearable, she snaps that folder closed, shocks you for a minute, and she puts the folder away back in her coat, and she says, I'm sure we'll speak again sometime. This file speaks for your ability in the air, but you should make sure that the habits and ambitions of your section mates don't rub off on you too much. And she turns on her heel and walks out of there. As the door swing closes, you can hear a collective sigh in the infirmary. Has everybody... It's sort of like when you have children that are laying in bed in the same room and the parents close the door and everybody sits up and looks at you like, oh my God. And Katya's like, what did you do?
Apparently, I keep company with people that she doesn't approve of. I don't know that I've done anything, but perhaps I'm going to.
She says, Barskova is usually the nice one.
I believe I've made an enemy. When I landed my plane, I covered her in mud, so now she knows me very well.
What was she doing on the runway?
Watching our squadron. I imagine she was anticipating our return, since she's got her eye on us, it appears.
So we'll return back to the farmhouse, and you guys have made your plan to
overthrow the oppressive rule of German tyranny that exists within this house.
Yes.
All right.
Save this poor, defenseless Russian family.
So you're going to go out and scrounge for
poison.
Some
poisonous herbs.
belladonna, deadly nightshade, something of those sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. So go ahead and make a scrounge roll for me as you sneak out into the forest.
I'm going to go on some Russian Baba Yaga type shit.
Right on. Oh.
Scrounge is a
Plus luck.
Okay, so I got a 9.
All right.
Oh, the whistleblowers herb.
So you get what you want, but you need to choose 2. Are you a misanthrope?
Not on this mission, unfortunately.
So we'll say you find, wow, we should be better at picking these things since we did that whole episode of it. What was the one that could be put into tea?
Rose root?
There were a couple. Oleander,
Rosia?
I believe, and foxglove. Yeah, remains poisonous after drying. Foxglove is the other one. That's the digitalis. And
Let's
it
do the
is LD50. 0.3 milligrams per kilogram for the foxglove.
Okay.
0.5 for the oleander.
All right, so you are searching through the forest and you find a small amount of foxglove on the ground that you can crush up and powderize or however that you know that is very deadly.
We'll take a very large quantity.
Okay. We're going to kill the tri-state area.
We got lots of folks to off here.
Got the foxgloveinator. All right, so you bring it back to the barn and you have to pick 2.
Oh, so I will... I really do want to take 1 harm from lack of sleep because I'm already at 2 harm anyway. Can I incur a debt? Maybe like in doing this, I'm asking his wife to put herself at significant risk.
And what would that debt look like?
Like me being saddled with these children for an inappropriate amount of time and possibly putting myself in harm's way to keep them safe at some point. That seems like the natural progression to me.
Okay, you make a good case. That's fair.
And I'm gonna say maybe I get poor quality stuff. Like it's still gonna work, but she's gonna have to cover it like with some seasonings and maybe like cook them something that maybe they were not very happy to eat. You know, some kind of stronger tasting Russian dish that their sensitive German palates that are used to eating sauerkraut are not as happy
Put it in
with.
sauerkraut. That covers up
Let me
everything.
make you the German borscht, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. So you have the foxglove. It's not quite as deadly as you'd hoped, and you are now going to be returning with these 2 children. Don't forget you still have your 1 hold from your eyeball. So while she's out doing all this, is there anything in particular that you're...
I sat down and wrote a letter to my sister.
Oh, okay.
After I obviously mapped out like the best and quickest, hopefully
Right.
most stealthy route back. And possibly most obvious
Do you
to
wanna,
our people.
Do you want to eyeball the situation in terms of trying to escape and get like a route back?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense, I think.
So go ahead and roll plus skill.
Plus skill. Oh, crap. I'm bad at that. Double ones! Wait, that's a good thing, right? I'm being a natural born Russian. Oh, balls.
Okay.
2d6 potato famine.
Good job, Holly.
All right. So here's how I think this plays out. Yulia's character is out in the forest looking for these herbs, and you are mapping this thing out, right? And all of a sudden, the door opens to the barn, and you have your map out there, and you see that there is a German uniform, the gray German uniform, right? As he's got something in his hand, and he's pulling the door closed, but he's like walked in, and he's got his back. He hasn't actually seen you yet.
Okay, then I will quickly fold all of that as quietly as possible on top of itself and like get under whatever I'm, got my stuff out on.
Okay. So
Like a bale of hay or some shit.
Right. So I think this sounds like a tempt fate as you're trying to roll out of the way. So go ahead and roll plus guts.
Eight plus. So on a 7, you do it but not without cost. GM can offer you a worse outcome, a hard bargain, or an ugly choice.
Okay, so here's what I'm seeing happen as far as the choice goes. He's coming in, and he has his back to you as he's pulling the door closed, right? And he has a small amount of crusts of bread and some like leftovers of whatever they didn't eat, right? On this plate that he has in his hand. So I will offer you the choice being that so he can either see you and we'll deal with that consequence, or
You could use your forbidden love trait.
or as he pulls the door closed, the grandfather comes forward to try and make a distraction, right? And when he does so, he knocks the platter or the plate out of his hand, and it will spill on the floor and spill the food and that kind of stuff on the floor. And then he will be appropriately disciplined, maybe not appropriately disciplined, for bumping into this soldier and whatnot.
Oh, man. How long has she been gone?
I don't know. Well, you think she should be coming back soonish?
Soonish. Okay. I will let him... I'll choose for him to see me.
Oh, right on. Okay, so he turns around as the grandfather is coming forward to try and help make a distraction, but he doesn't get there in time, we'll say. And the German soldier turns around and he looks at the grandfather and then sees you and looks to you and has this strange look on his face, and he says something to you in German that you don't understand. I guess I should ask this, do any of you guys speak German?
Not that
Do
I
we?
know of.
If it makes sense in terms of your character, I don't have a problem with it, but...
I see no reason why I would speak German.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't really...
Okay.
I could make it make sense. I went to school.
Yeah, maybe she learned it at university.
I don't have a problem with it, I'm just saying. It's all good.
It's not like this is the year 1 of the war. Maybe they've been teaching German.
So, right. So, very good. So, Vera, you speak German.
It's gonna bite me in the butt. I already know it, but
You know who speaks German? Spies. Spies speak German.
Spies!
like nobody knows I speak German because the spies keep shit like that a secret.
All right. So, he turns and sees you, and he's got the plate in his hand. And I will say that you have the drop on him for this very moment right here. So what would you like to do in this moment where you have surprise on him?
Bum rush him and grab his mouth before he can yell.
Okay, very good. So I think that's going to be acting up as a hooligan.
Ooh, girl.
That doesn't seem appropriately hooligan-y.
I think it's definitely hooligan-y.
Okay, if that is a word. So go ahead and roll plus luck.
8. I will ensure that there are no consequences
Oh, man.
for acting up.
Ooh. So how do you see that happening, that there's no consequences?
He is actually on our side. He doesn't believe in the war, but he does little things to actually help. That's why he was bringing food.
So I'll say he's a
sympathizer.
legit German
Yeah.
soldier, but like he doesn't believe in punishing people
Yeah.
for no reason.
Which is why he was actually the one that was bringing food out to them.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so you tackle him down.
Yeah. And I grab, is there like any kind of tool? Like any.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
of
sure
course.
there's like a crap ton. So
Right.
anything slightly
There's
sharp.
a hammer or something. Yeah.
Okay, I will have whatever like raised up. I have my hand on his head, on his mouth, and like whatever weapon I grabbed held up, and I'm like, "Don't say a word."
Okay. And he's there. Actually, he doesn't even have his rifle with him. When he came out here, he was just coming to deliver food. He didn't bring his rifle, and there's a person on guard, so there's not really a reason he would have brought it with him. So he has a sidearm on him, but he puts his hands out, and he looks very, very nervous and shaky. And he looks down, and he sees your flight suit, and there's some kind of insignia on there, and he looks back up at you like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And just sits there, and he jabbers something at you in German, and he's motioning to the grandfather and the children, like, yeah, it's all Greek to me.
Yeah, I will reach down and get his gun.
Okay.
And take it out and turn it back around and aim it at him and stand up. Like I'll get off of him and everything, and motion for him to stand up.
Okay, so he gets up, nervous, knocks the straw off of him. The grandfather will tell you that he has been nice in terms of German. He says he's been nice for a German, is what he says. And he is the reason that the children haven't starved to death.
I'm gonna try to use basic like body language, sign language to kind of determine whether or not I think he's going to go back and tell the rest of the soldiers. I'll point to him like you, and then I'll do the like hand mouth talking,
Right.
and then I'll point like out toward the house.
Okay.
The other soldiers too, and I'll use the gun. Kill me is what I'm trying to like. Are you gonna go tell them to kill me?
So, because of your act up role and what you chose, he says he shakes his head no, and he points at the children. This seems like an appropriately dramatic moment.
Yes.
So,
of course,
Yulia, you slip back into the barn to the side door, and at this, you turn around and you're like, I got it! And you see that Galia has a German soldier at gunpoint.
I'm not taking my eyes off of it.
Yeah, I assume.
Were we going to do this tonight with the poisoning, or?
I don't know.
Have they already eaten dinner, or what?
Yeah, it's late. It's late, so yeah.
Okay.
Is that you, Yulia? Because you didn't say anything. Okay. I think we should leave it for them and take the children and go now. And I'll look over to the grandfather to see like what he thinks.
He just is. You can tell he's a man who's in a very bad predicament that he doesn't know how to get out of.
Yeah.
If you guys leave with the children,
they'll know. They'll kill them.
Also,
and that officer.
You guys are in the middle of the forest, and walking these children out of here is probably not a reality.
Okay.
You'd have to have some other form of transportation.
They obviously don't know how to be shushed.
There are, you do have one eyeball left as well, so.
What do we do? He has been kind to them. He was bringing them food. He says he's not going to tell them that we're here, but I don't know.
Let him go.
Are you sure?
Let him go.
All right, I will do whatever you...
Yes.
And give him his gun back.
Okay, he doesn't grab it at first. He's like...
I'll put it back in his hook.
Okay, he's like, this is the old double cross. I've seen this before, and dusts the straw off of it.
Do not tell them that we are here.
Mm-hmm. He shakes his head. Right. He hands the plate of food
It probably would have
gotten. He kneels down and he puts the stuff back on the plate, and then he hands it to the grandfather. And then he backs up. He never turns his back on you guys. He backs up, and then he slips out the door.
That was close. The grandfather. What is your name?
His name is Fedor.
And what are your grandchildren's names?
It is Little Fedor. And Ira.
How are we going to get her the herbs? For her to put them in their breakfast, maybe?
So she won't be coming at night?
Sometimes she sneaks out here at night to check on the children.
Then we wait. One of us should wait in the woods in case he sends someone back.
I should probably.
Okay, here it is.
All right, I'll take the herbs and I'll give you all of the stuff again. I've plotted this course for us to get back with.
Sneak
if we leave with all of them, it's going to be a little harder. But I think we should.
Just shoot
the people? What? Terrible.
It's plan B.
Well, I mean, we'll just take the
Now,
kids.
just so you guys know, if you guys decide to go in there and you wanted to go in there guns a-blazing, pow, 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 right? It would be one roll. It would be one.
But it would be a better roll if they all had diarrhea.
Exactly. And then we go in guns blazing.
Well, all I'm saying though is in terms of that kind of stuff, because this game is not about the individual like shootout in the farmhouses when you get shut down. It's just one thing that encompasses, and we would narrate what happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the fallout would be whatever the roll is. What?
It's at the bottom. I didn't know if you wanted to see the symptoms of.
Oh no, I know this.
Glove.
I know Didge. It's good.
Okay.
All right.
So she will wait out in there, and I will find a better, much better hiding place inside the barn, but still close enough to the door.
Okay. Very good.
I'm gonna try and make some cover as best as I can, or whatever, and get a couple hours of sleep before the sun comes up.
Okay. So that night, the grandmother will come out.
I'll wait for the grandfather to tell her what's going on before I actually come out.
Yeah, he explains
I don't want to
to her.
scare the shit out of her.
Kind of lays out what has happened, and she cries a little bit. You know, she hugs her grandchildren, draws them close to him. I see her as this sort of, you know, the heavy peasant lady with the round face. She kneels down and she, you know, very clearly has a lot of affection for her grandchildren. She hugs them and she kisses them all on their foreheads, and she will take the foxglove, as you know, like from the roll before. She agrees to it, provided you guys take the children with you.
Of course. Before she leaves, I'm going to kind of pull her over to the side to where the children obviously can't hear. If this goes bad, we will take the children and go fast. And I know that you understand that it is probably not going to be good for you, but we will save the children.
So she looks at you with that knowing look, and she puts her hand on your cheek, and she says, "God bless you, child." And she turns and walks out the door.
I'll turn my face. I'm a Soviet woman. I am a soldier, and I cannot show any kind of, emotion. But I'll be like, yes.
I think that sounds like a reaching out to me.
I'm not crying.
I think that sounds like a reach out to me. So go ahead and roll plus. Oh, you don't have any regard for her, so it's just a straight roll.
Okay. Six.
Oh.
That's no good at all.
No, but you do have one from your mission pool. If you would like to spend it.
What do you think? Should I use that, and then I can remove one harm from you and I both, so that we're a little better?
I think that's probably a good plan.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use
Very
our
good. So
mission pool and then remove harm from both of us.
All right. So
I think we're gonna need it.
Lacey, your sleep is pretty amazingly restful, surprisingly enough. So you when you awake in the morning, you feel sufficiently a little bit replenished. Holly, yours comes more from the fact that you had a purpose before, right? And fighting the Germans, all that stuff, it matters, but not in the same way where it matters to this lady. And you know that she has very definitely put her trust and her family's future and legacy in your hands. And she's put that trust in you. And so that is sort of, your wounds aren't mended, but she's given you a certain amount of resolve, to be like, I'm going to do this. Yeah.
My life might not matter as much, but I'm going to make sure these kids live.
Right. Very cool. All right. So morning will come, and back at the ranch, Vera, you have the very definite sense that no one is going to look for anyone. There were orders given, although you didn't seem very happy about it. I didn't know if you wanted to pursue that or not, or it's whatever. You also have a meeting with a fine gentleman pilot as well.
Yeah, Ruslan. I'm gonna go meet with Ruslan.
So it is morning, and
it's his free time.
Yeah, and you see him actually walking to find you.
I'm gonna make myself, hey.
It's like, I thought you'd track me down by now. I'm easy to find.
I was in the process of making up my mind about a couple of things. Lots on my mind. We lost a plane last night, and they're not going to send anybody to look for them.
He just sort of gives you a knowing nod, and he doesn't know you very well, but
it's okay. It's Yellowtail's fault, and whatever I can learn from you will make it better in the end. I know they're alive, and I know they're smart, and I know they'll make it back. But I wish I could do more, and fighting Yellowtail will be the thing that I'll do.
So, you want to know how to take one of these planes down?
Absolutely.
He's like, let's go look at your plane.
I'm going to bring him to Suka.
All right, so he looks at this thing, and you can tell he's never actually been up close to one before.
It's still damaged, too.
This isn't the one I flew last night. I'll point over at
Gordosk.
And I'll say I flew that one last night, but Suka's my usual.
So he walks past the plane and he runs his hand down the wing and down the side of the plane like, people who are really, really deeply into planes and cars and whatever do. And he looks at some of the bullet holes and he kind of sticks his finger inside. He's looking the plane over, being like, "Wow," And
I'm not offended.
No.
I let him.
He sort of looks at the plane and then he looks back at you.
And then I'll point out that we carry pistols with us too. We also have pistols.
He looks at the plane again and he just says, "Holy shit! They let you fly these things?"
Yeah. I'll tell him about the successful bombing raid we had last night, minus, the loss. But
So
we actually do stuff up in the air in these.
He's like, "I heard about what you guys did, but I assumed that you weren't flying. I mean, my grandpa's plane."
There's not a whole lot to go around, and we need the best Soviet men to have the best, and we will take what's left to make sure that our mission is a success.
He kind of laughs and he pats you on the shoulder. And he's like, "You're a braver woman than I am."
It's because I'm a woman.
He's like, "All right, well, let's figure this out. Is there any, he's just looking. Now, I believe in World War II they had tail guns on them, like a very small machine gun on the back of them. But in this, it's just so I think it's to make it so that it's not about air combat. Do you know what I'm
I
saying?
printed a picture of one. Yeah, I don't think they have tail guns on them. Yeah, I don't see a tail gun.
It's just straight up crap. Wait, what is this? That looks like it
It
could
should
be
be
a
on the
gun.
back.
Ah, yep.
That looks
There's
like
a gun.
Okay.
Right behind the
Yeah.
navigator
I thought
there.
there was.
That's a picture of Suka.
Cool.
I like the winky emoji. You're really keeping it period.
No, it's a winky emoji because it's Suka, and Suka means bitch, and I named my plane bitch. And
Right.
This itty bitty little thing back
Yeah,
there?
that's a machine gun.
Oh, that's cool.
See the pipe coming out the front?
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
so,
barrel, I guess.
That's pretty awesome and terrifying.
I don't know who's shooting it. I mean, there's nobody back there. How does that work? There's some kind of trigger apparatus in the navigator seat, I guess.
They put it on autopilot.
That's how I landed the plane, too.
Exactly.
That does not add up.
Okay, so I think
You think this gun could take it down?
he looks at it. He kind of raises his eyebrows, kind of halfway shakes his head, and says, "I suppose it's possible. I mean, anything's possible."
How very Russian of him.
He says, "What did this yellowtail guy do? That you're
He's
so-"
specifically hunting the female fighter pilots of the Russian military. Tell FW-190 has been on half of the missions I have been on since I got to
Gornyaka.
Tredgornyaka.
Well, I'm not.
I know that he waits for us.
Okay. So I'm gonna put this as nicely as I can. I'm not gonna say it's not possible. I'm just gonna say it's not likely. Now, I mean, there are other ways, but with what you're working with here, I mean,
Are the F-190s the same build as what you fly?
The fighter plane,
Sorry,
yeah.
FW-190. That's his German Luftwaffe plane.
no, they fly MiG-1s.
Are there pilots exposed to the open?
No, they're closed cockpit. I mean, I'm not... okay, so it's possible, but I think that you're going to be exposing yourself to a lot of, crazy risk where it's 1 in a million. I mean...
But you could take him out. Easy. Soviet airmen can take out one of the Luftwaffe any day of the week. So why can't we fly a mission together?
Our pilots are better. Our planes are not quite as... They do the job, but their planes are impressive.
Okay.
But you're right.
But if they think that it's one of our raids and it turns out to be you guys, they would never see it coming.
There's no way I'm going to convince them to let us fly an entire mission at night for one pilot.
I'll figure it out. I appreciate you spending this time with me and looking at my plane and seeing how I can do this.
He's just sitting there he seems more kind of dumbfounded, impressed. Do you know what I'm saying? He's almost speechless as he looks at this, plane, not a jet, a plane. And he sits down in one of the chairs in the hangar, and he's just sitting there kind of doing one of these where he's sort of working it over in his head.
I'm going to sit down next to him and I'm going to be quiet for once in my life.
So while he ponders things, it seems like if you want to rest, unless you want to be out of bed against doctor's orders, that you're going to spend most of this one day laid up, medicated, reminiscing with Katya.
Can I leave the hospital against her? I would rather not be in the hospital.
Could, but it's one of those deals.
Okay. So I just have to do 1 day in the hospital. I don't have to do the entire... Okay.
No.
So I will stay in the hospital. I will stay in the hospital and think of my interaction with Bershinskaya, because now she has me thinking some thoughts about what she said.
Right on.
And I'm just kind of thinking about that.
Alrighty, Vera. So Ruslan stands up and he walks over the plane and he starts to look at the mount where this gun goes. And he's kind of pushing and jerking on some things, and he goes over and he grabs a big hammer off of one of the toolboxes. And he's shaking this thing and he just starts to hit it and watch how things move. Do you know what
I'm going to keep an eye out so nobody comes and bothers him.
Okay. And so...
while watching him.
Right. He's like, maybe we could put a bigger gun on here, but I'm not sure it would last on there a whole long time. You know, he's like, you can tell he's really working. Like, he's really trying to grasp at something.
No, and I could definitely, I could drop a couple pounds of what I bring on the plane easily. I think you're onto something.
It's like, the only problem is once you, shoot a lot from that and the vibration through the plane, it's going to tear up that mount. So it's not something that you could...
We don't use these guns very often, so it would be like, in case of Yellowtail, pull trigger.
I mean, you could go over to the infantry and see if you can scrounge up some, whatever their version of a 50 caliber machine gun, a bigger machine gun. He's like, that's really... But you got to find a mechanic as well and probably reinforce this inside here. And
have you met Dasha? She should have been a mechanic, but she is in a plane. Amazing girl.
I don't know any of you lady pilots.
I'm sorry. You know me.
That is true. And he looks at the plane again and just sort of shakes his head.
And I owe you a drink.
I have never been a man to turn down a drink, especially from a pretty lady. As he puts his arm around you and starts to walk out the door. He as nonchalant, he just sort of tosses the hammer over into the corner.
She is very pretty. Look at that picture. Look at that jawline. Those manicured eyebrows before tweezers were a thing, I think.
No, my description is very pretty.
Going on there?
Aristocratic, lively. Yeah.
Yeah, so
she's a fox, that's all I'm saying.
So he tosses the hammer away like, I couldn't give two shits about this hammer. And
but he gives two shits about my plane.
I don't think he cares about the plane. He's just impressed.
It's what's in the plane.
You get the feeling that he is legitimately impressed by the
size of your balls.
Yeah, by the sand, the amount of sand you have to be in this plane flying like a badass Russian.
Well, as long as this isn't an elite plane, it won't have the big bombs in it. The 50 caliber should work just fine. Look, I already found it. And put that on the back.
that is way bigger. That's actually what was shooting you guys down.
Aircraft gun. Perfect. It's perfect.
That's exactly what
We'll take everything down.
All right, so if we can put wings on this tank, right, and then we'll. Okay, so morning comes for you guys at the barn. Thanks for listening. This has been an episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can support us at patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix or follow us on Twitter at JustOneMoreFix.